Visualizers always make BLACKBRIAR numbers better. I mean, they're fine in isolation, but whenever you have a music video accompaniment or anything of the sort, it's appreciated, and the effort added to Spirit of Forgetfulness makes this an ever-tantalizing development in our journey together with the remainder of A Dark Euphony. As promised so long ago, and I did not mean to be late on the ball with this, I am slightly ashamed, but it's taken me this long, but I'm encouraged with the fact that I was able to withstand temptation to go listen for myself in an effort to preserve our encounters in a fresh initiation lens with all of you. We're taking that journey together, right? And from whatever angle we approach, I welcome everybody. Longtime fans of BLACKBRIAR, I know there are many of you, and others, maybe fresh initiate witnesses to their work. And if this is a first introduction, I've said this to every credit of the BLACKBRIAR pieces off of A Dark Euphony. You're in for a fun ride, but together, I would recommend you go back to the origin. We are now at the third track in out of 11, and we have humored some of these singles before in advancement of what's debuted in preparation to the album's full unveiling. So if you want to take the journey with me, though, again, mutual, though, I at least recommend you listen to the first two numbers and then return. But to set you on even footing, if you do wish to continue at this point, you're about to entertain a gothic symphonic metal group from of Dutch origin, a favorite of mine, in particular to the European rock and metal landscape. If you've never set foot into that world either, BLACKBRIAR could be your first footing. They were one of my earlier ones, and ever since I've broadened out with many different talents. Europe's a particular favorite of mine, but in the rock sphere, BLACKBRIAR, I love them. Their numbers, an incredible, enviable density in respect to both their scorings, which are incredibly dramatic on the instrumental use and application. BLACKBRIAR is a very pleasant encounter, I think, for anybody, but then you accompany with that great vision on the narratives, a real mythic focus, and a bit of a divergence, too, in destination from different types of tales, a wide scale of stories brought into their works, with a creative end as well. Not to overlook it either, you have Zola Koch, though, as a favorite vocalist of mine among many within the leading ladies of Europe. She is incredible in terms of a force of vocals prowess, and I have heard a couple bits and pieces of this based on some of the teasers they've released, but generally we are taking a fresh encounter. I can tell you Spirit of Forgetfulness also embodies that transfixing quality that her vocals have. She's like a natural siren in the flesh. That's what I'd call her. I don't mean that as exaggeration. When you witness her, if you're not familiarized, you'll understand why I say that. But the directness of their narratives, and whatever perception we wish to see them, whether they be, again, on the mythic origin or from a contemporary application sense, and there are numbers that can fit both extremes. And music is subjective, right? We interpret it differently. I know this best myself. I've done this widely with many artists. Spirit of Forgetfulness also has this duality of approach, which is true of BLACKBRIAR, broadly speaking. I love it. It's an enviable approach. But we're going to introduce ourselves together to Spirit of Forgetfulness, again, making our way through satisfaction of fulfillment of the promise I left you with concerning A Dark Euphony, that we would entertain it in full. Our third number in with a music video in a minute. But if you want some inspiration to the piece, and again, I'm covering this album in different respects in terms of the lyrical theming differently depending on the work. In some cases, we have declaration from the group, like with this one, and other times I'm acting void of that and understanding what I can at least read into from the lyrics. And some I've been able to get into, like the Lex number, I'm really looking forward to on the respect that I think I know what they were going for. But admittedly, I did, and understandably, they've been on tour for the last couple of months, I did pre-order the behind the lyrics window. In the idea of maybe we could humor it together, but there's been a bit of a delay on the unveiling, which is fine. So I'm reading into it where I can and acknowledging the fact that I am, to some extent, operating with particular numbers void of a declared inspiration and meaning from the group. In this case, we have a general thesis. So if you want to understand the inspiration of Spirit of Forgetfulness, I'll give you this quote as attributed by the group. Spirit of Forgetfulness, again, the number we're about to entertain, is inspired by the ancient goddess, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Leaf. Feel free to clarify down below. The Spirit of Forgetfulness and the associated river. All those who drank from the waters of Leaf experienced complete forgetfulness. That sounds tempting. The song centers around lessons taught to us by every fairy tale that has ever been told. To be careful what you wish for. True. Be willing to pay the price. What if you are so desperate to forget a certain person? You tried everything, but the memory keeps on haunting and hurting you. That's what trauma does. The last thing you can think of is to, again, like I said, contemporary application. The last thing you can think of is to call upon the old gods for help, the Spirit of Forgetfulness, Leaf. She agrees to help you and takes you to the underworld where a river is located so you can drink from it. Okay, at that point, I'm probably like, maybe not. Leffy did what you asked for. You forgot everything, even yourself, with one exception, the one memory you wanted to forget so desperately. A misleading voice of a truthful whisper. Like I said, that density, it's incredible with their inspiration, isn't it? And we're going to see that on on display with Spirit of Forgetfulness. I've not read into the lyrics in depth, or of course witnessed the song in full. We're going to do that together for ourselves and enjoy it mutually. As I've said, music is better enjoyed in company. I truly believe that. And to pitch roots for you, or allow for a possibility of that for fresh listeners, right? And again, to restate, I welcome everybody. Longtime fans, of course. I love being in your graces. Or fresh initiate listeners. I hope for that, right? I hope for a bit of a diversity in that perhaps for those of you who are looking for dynamic bands you've not been introduced to, BLACKBRIAR will impress. I think there's a lot of potential for that. Just on suspicion, I know what I'm getting. And you can already get a taste of that with what I've offered of Spirit of Density and Prelude to our encounter, right? Let's add a number and a visualizer into the mix. These are, again, always fun. And with a Dark Euphony, oh, they've really impressed me with these pieces and the compliments of what we've been able to watch. Here we go, though. BLACKBRIAR, your formal introduction, perhaps, or another entry off of Dark Euphony and our journey together, but quite a delightful one. Okay, we got our spiritual feeling on, right? Immediately bring in those whimsical, higher inflected vocals, which she's a master at. The balance of her voice on this number is beautiful. Dearie. I love it. Amidst the troublesome cue to the lyrics' destination and the theming, this number has a real playful vibe to it on structure. But then you have those darker tones. Incredible. Again, it's a tempting idea. I love any revival to the effect of Deadly Diminuendo, and you're kind of getting that with a bit of a banshee scream. It's such a nice yell. And the strings accompaniment, beautiful. And I forgot it all, yet I still remember you. I've got no remembrance of who I am. I forgot it all, yet I still remember you. I'm getting chills right now. Key change? Okay. Let's see if it carries on again that unsettling effect. I really got into that first pick. It's not bad so far. I'm waiting to hear the chorus come in. It's an interesting choice for sure. It's working. Especially with the emboldened percussion as we draw out. Speaking of that location choice, talk about making use of every angle. It might be one particular setting. It looks to me like a Gothic style church or something like that. I mean, it could be wrong. I've never been to Europe or even this location, so I wouldn't know. But the lighting, the angles, they really capture an essence to this song that just, it adds beyond the group performance. It's nice to see a return to that, by the way. That was a main debut off of Crimson Faces. Oh, what a revival experience, too, at least on the visualizer front. But in that case, there was more of an expansive coverage on the environmental choice. This is still more so in one room, but they really make use of it. I'm impressed. I'll give you this analogy. It's an example that you oftentimes hear of, and maybe it's in other sports as well. I have an 18-year dance history. I was always told, use the stage, use the floor, right, for any performance or group showcase. Specific numbers maybe allow for a better range of that, jive or samba, stuff like that, or even softer ones. Right? I'm not trying to go on a wild tangent here. I promise this is connected to where I'm going. I know I have a tendency to talk, but watching this video reminds me a lot of that type of adage. I'm just giving you, again, a practical example. What I see here with the cinematography, the different angle choices, even the lighting, the isolated spotlight for Zora to sit there, which again mimics the essence of the lyrics, it's such a nice choice. I loved it. Full quality, with, again, like I said, just a general performance from the band. But it touches you, doesn't it? For any of you fresh initiate listeners, these numbers pierce you. They have me. And the storytelling, again, the density of the lyrics, it might be rooted in myth. It might have a background, again, to particular European history and stuff that I'm unfamiliarized to. How did she pronounce, by the way? I missed it. I'm going to do a skimmed rewind here, just briefly. Where did she say the name of the goddess? Leafy? I think it might be Leafy. I could have that wrong. It might be rooted in folklore, but you sense the real-world drive, don't you? And again, music is individualized in terms of adaptation. We all approach it differently, especially in the way that we process certain mechanisms to allow for a more contemporary facade and application. This thing, I get vibes of it. Let's say first on the scoring. The vocal effects, any revival to Deadly Diminuendo with those inflection points, the yells, oh, it's so nice. Just, again, in that case, that's my favorite numbers from them. I wish I think back to the Cause of Shipwreck. I wish I'd done a full album survey for that. But you learn from perhaps past mistakes and what you don't do. Maybe we'll we're going to return to discussion of, at very least, some of those numbers. In future developments, I'm looking to ideas right now. But I will tell you, when I experience this piece, I get threads again of their body of work. But there's a clear mastery here, and again, a precision on particular the vibe you enter in with. You find yourself in the company of a goddess you wish you'd never met, or a goddess/trickster. Again, it is particular. They're totally right when they speak of the inspiration. That is true in a lot of Western world folklore and tales. Maybe we expand in different places depending on the particular subject, but what they're speaking of, oh yeah, this is quite present in many myths and fairy tales. So the touch of this, speaking of like a fairy tale energy, again, the fantasy vibe of this is so direct, but I love how it's interwoven into the vocals and the touches with the instrumental. It's got a great score. But when you talk about the themes and that supernatural spiritual presence, oh, that's embodied beautifully by not only the song, but by the complexity of the narrative and just how contemporary that is. Just a brief thought of mine. One of the numbers I'm thinking about discussing in a future opportunity, again, on a reintroduction journey of sorts, or however it's going to materialize. I'm working for ideas right now. I see these types of pieces as like a part one, part two experience, but you want to talk about depth of lyrics and storytelling in comparable, analogous experiences. I think of Walking Over My Grave / Mortal Remains. I interweave the two because I sense a destination with those numbers in the way that I perceive them and translate them according to my own life. And I'll tell you, those pieces have sunk into me over so many re-listens. In particular of BLACKBRIAR, I like their library extensively, but those numbers they're two of my favorites. Specifically how they connect to me on story. I get reminiscence to that with the Spirit of Forgetfulness. Not that I would go seek the company of a god or goddess who would take me to the underworld. I think most of us, if this were a real life situation, would go, yeah, we're quick, distract and leave, evade. And you'll learn quickly, right? Those waters aren't meant for the living, for sure. Merciless and unforgiving, I might not be your well-wisher. I mean, this song is beautifully characterized. And be careful what you wish for, dearie. Charm of that, dearie. It's such a classic. It feels very European. It's such a modest song, too. It's great. I love the personality of what we read here. But the way it connects, And I forgot it all, yet I still remember you. I've got no remembrance of who I am. Oh, I forgot it all. And it's just such a... That particular chorus and the development from the that's the bridge, but the development there from the ever verses of the song, it's such a great destination. Like I said, contemporary application, they might be differentiated in terms of how we evaluate. I can't help but very similar to, just a teaser to Walking Over My Grave in terms of future discussion, whenever that is, I have no idea yet, and Mortal Remains. I see those from a, what I'll call, abuse therapy lens. I have an extensive history of that in terms of emotional, verbal, psychological abuse. I dealt with that for many years in my life. I sense the same type of idea here, told in a creative hybrid between myth and reality. The thought of you possesses me. You're the dweller of my mind, where you are utterly and vividly alive. Amen. I won't go further, but amen. I implore her deeply to erase my memory. Yeah, I ask for those memories to be cast away as much as possible, but that's what, trauma does to you. Anyway, I won't spend too long on that everything, and we've all dealt with bad experiences. Some of us, when you talk about emotional abuse, it grounds into your mind, and sometimes condemnation bears a face that you wish you'd rather not see, certainly over half a decade. Oh, it's not a pleasant journey sometimes, but to have that catharsis expressed in music, which in some I've said many times, I don't have much cohesion personally of people that I have a face-to-face relationship with in terms of music taste. I never really have. Metal has always put me in a bit of an isolated, socially adrift position, but I welcome the catharsis of it. It's part of the reason I pushed into it so many years ago. Metalhead by choice. Metal and rock, let's be fair again to both atmospheres, and both tones I think are intermixed well here. It's that type of raw assertion and honesty that immediately drew me in. As I've said, music has been closer in my life than people have. Songs like this, they connect. Even to get, the way I come from it, we might look at it, again, relegated, at least in the particular narrative specifics, to conventions of folklore, and we might have our own, maybe belief systems, right? I've spoken before very openly. I come from a Christian background, at least to some extent with any content I make. It's just a default of who I am. So, while we might see these, again, like I said, in the territory of folklore and fairy tale, there's still a real-world application to them that instantly connect, especially in a place where songs invite you to entertain them and to, for lack of a better term, minister to you. Just in a spirit of not maybe forgetfulness, but encouragement. Spirit of forgetfulness for me has that effect to it. And it's something I've witnessed before with BLACKBRIAR and that I absolutely love whenever it materializes. Maybe to the same extent that Walking Over My Grave and Mortal Remains also take on that facade. Some other other numbers have too, but those are, I think, for me, have been the most potent. Maybe there's others that you could speak to if you're a knowledgeable BLACKBRIAR listener that same effect has been evoked within you, right? Maybe Spirit of Forgetfulness is a fitting attribution into such a claim. I'd love to hear if that's a story with you down below, or maybe, just your general thoughts on the song, right? We all have maybe different points that we approach it and different things we take away. I'm just trying to give you a good summation, but it's a wonderful experience, believably with a dark euphony, and more specifically with BLACKBRIAR. Understandable. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below and your point of approach if you wish to disclose that. Longtime fan, initiate listener. Again, you can see the density if this is a first introduction for you. I'd love to hear what you think about Spirit of Forgetfulness. It's a wonderful piece. Another great attribution to a dark euphony, only 3 tracks in the chronological lineup. We've humored more in preparation, of course, with the singles, but it's a fun journey all the same that we're going in piece by piece. Next up, talk about that one being promising. Bloody Footprints in the Snow. I think I'm operating void of an interpretation here declared by the band, but I think I know what this one's speaking to, and I will tell you it's a bit charming to me. Although the subject is a bit troublesome, just like the goddess forgetfulness, or a spirit of forgetfulness, however it's termed. Anyway, Leafy. I might be getting that pronunciation wrong, forgive me. Kind of the same route to Bloody Footprints in the Snow, but the exploration. Same density on promise that I've witnessed with Spirit of Forgetfulness, which makes it, again, a never-tempting attribution. And, again, more fulfillment towards our ultimate destination of a full album walkthrough, which I've loved doing. I've postponed it. Not that I wanted to, but I just had to, given different circumstances, but now we're here. And it's an enjoyable journey. I knew it would be. I've been looking forward to this for a while, and I hope you are experiencing the same effect within you as you entertain BLACKBRIAR's A Dark Euphony for yourself as well, number by number. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.